Hi, everyone. I'm Pete Wright with LexJet, and I'm here with my very good friend, Dennis Hammon, today. Dennis, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Pete, for asking me.
It's good to see you.
Better seen.
Dennis is a fantastic landscape photographer in Idaho. We've been very fortunate to spend some time with him, seeing him at work and getting some great tips and getting a tour all around the Grand Tetons and just seeing the master at work. And we're fortunate to have him here today to tell us a little bit about his photography, the things he does, and also tell us a little bit of what's in his mind when he goes to reproduce those images on print. So, Dennis, tell me a little bit about your work. Tell me a little bit about your history from the very beginning all the way through to where you are now as a photographer.
Well, I've been at this for a long time, like 50 years. And I started in high school like everybody else, and I have a degrees in botany and geology, and I tried to incorporate the photography into photograph and stuff like that. Got my studio going, and I did volume, and I decided my temperament wasn't for the volume. So I migrated to more the higher end type look. And doing so, I've also always liked, because I like the outdoors, I've started doing the fine art work and the landscape work. I still do a lot of portraits, a lot of families, a lot of headshots, but my real love is outside, photographing outside. That's what I love.
So I've been fortunate to work with you not only as a photographer, but as a judge. We've sat on panels together, and I learned a lot just from listening to the way you critique work. That's been one of my fortunate experiences. I've worked with some amazing photographers that are also great judges, and just sitting back and listening to the way you talk to prints and the way you analyze things. And I know one of the things I was taught early on is don't point at the print. You have to point with your words. And hearing you talk to the print, I think I work with you not only as a judge, but as a chair as well. Your guidance in that has been spectacular. And I got to think that printing your own work, and you had mentioned that you've always printed your own work. You didn't come from an environment where you outsource stuff. You started in a wet lab, and you transitioned to eventually doing work on an inkjet printer.
That's correct.
I got to think that has really influenced your work as a judge, correct?
It has, because when I'm very technical on things, and I look at how work is being evaluated, and I look at the lines, the tones, the design, the color, the whole spectrum of things, and it makes me a better photographer, because I know that to capture those, I got to put them on my paper, and I love paper prints. And so it has made me a better photographer and a judge by printing my own stuff, because it makes me know what can be done.
So one of the things, I don't think I've talked to, we've done several of these interviews now, and pretty much everybody I've talked to has been a judge, but I've not talked to a judge that's also a chair and said, if you're printing your own work, what things do you need to be careful of when you're printing your work? What things should you be doing? What things should you not be doing? So talk to me a little bit about the person that's printing their own work for competition.
Well, unfortunately, right now, a lot of the competition don't have prints, and that just saddens me. Just saddens me, because I think the print is the final evaluation of your work. But when people are looking at, they need to look at good D-max. They need to look at make sure there's tones in their highlights, and so there's density in the shadows, and there's just all those things that we need to look at that I think people sometimes just say, "Oh, it's good enough," and for competition, it's not. It needs to be spot on.
So for the ones that are doing digital print competition, and like you said, a lot of them are going that way, but there's still a handful out there that are print, and hopefully some print will come back. Is there value in a person that's entering a digital competition printing their image to make sure that, because I know from personal experience, there's times when I've looked at an image on screen and you almost become blind to it because you're staring at a screen, that maybe there's things you miss that if I print it, I didn't even see that until I printed it.
We have the advantage, because we have the printer, that we print our work before we submit it digitally. And you're absolutely right, because we look at it, we turn it upside down, we look at it different, and we take it out into the light, so we're looking at the light. Of course, you have to print or make your images for digital to the right density. You need to have that. But when we're looking for the flaws, the looks, if we miss something, and we have the advantage with both of us doing this and looking at this, that we both critique each other's work. Sometimes it can be a little harsh, but it really helps when somebody prints your work, because then you really realize what it can be.
When it comes to your personal printing, the things that you're printing your own work on, do you have certain papers that you really enjoy, that you really love?
Yes. I mean, we print on a lot. We have different papers, but my favorite is the Fiber Elite. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've got other papers, but it seems to be my brand. It seems to be it talks to me because it brings out the densities, the blacks, the highlights like that. I love the luster feeling. I know there's other papers, and we've talked about some new ones coming out there, but the Fiber Elite, ever since it came out, has just been what we print on for my clients as well as for my fine artwork.
Are you using any canvas or anything? Or are you
we use the canvas. Yeah, we have canvas, and we know the Sherry's canvases. We work on those, and we have people who want canvas images. But for the most part, my work is on the Fiber Elite.
Having seen your work for years and years, the landscape stuff is stunning. I mean, I don't know how you get the images you get. I'm sure you're hiking to places that other people won't, at times that people aren't willing to go. And that's how you get these unique captures, because most people aren't willing to do the things you do to get there.
Well, I appreciate that.
But I would like to think that when you're printing your own work, you don't, much like the images that you see when you're looking at it visually, there's no boundaries put on you by certain frame sizes and things like that when you have your own printer.
That's the amazing part of this. I mean, if somebody wants a foot by 90 inches or whatever, we could do that. But a lot of our work is printed to the size requirements of the homes, the offices, or where we're printing. So that's nice that we can print to that custom size. And doing so, then we can sell a custom frame along with it and do things. But it doesn't diminish my capability as a creative artist. It actually enhances it, because now I can create an image to my creative thought pattern and produce that what they want. And a lot of times I'll tell the people, this is what you need. They come to me and I go, this is what you need for this space. And I'm the professional, so they say, okay.
Your work's probably different than, and I know you do some family portrait type work and stuff like that, but when it comes to your landscape stuff, you're not really necessarily photographing that on commission. That's something that you went out, you saw something you wanted, you photograph it for you, and then if somebody purchases it, then are you, in those scenarios, if the space they have maybe isn't as long as the work, are you keeping your work at the original scale it was and just sizing it down? Or are you occasionally having to do the painful part of, I need to crop certain elements out to make it fit?
I really try to avoid the cropping elements part, because that's my creative vision to create that piece. And I would rather reduce the size down than lose my creative vision. And I am actually getting people calling me wanting certain pieces. Like, we decorate offices and buildings and things, and they say, do you have this? And if I don't have it, I will specifically go out and capture those images or those scenes. But with that being said, I'm always out. Sherry and I do the drive-abouts. We go out like with you and do things. So I'm always adding those images to my portfolio, so I have those images to draw from.
Now, I've seen your work in color and black and white. Do you have a preference?
Black and white.
I love
my black and white. I love my black and white. I taught college level black and white for a year, and it's always been my passion. I like both, but I think black and white just creates a depth and dimension that nothing else can do.
Now, a lot of photographers feel like, okay, well, and you've got the Canon Pro 4100. They feel like, well, it's got 12 colors in it. How am I going to print a good black and white when it's got all this color in it? Have you experienced with your work that your black and whites are any less good off of that than your colors are? Or are you experiencing that I'm getting great black and whites and great color from the exact same machine?
Great color, great black and white from the same machine. It's just how we optimize it and how we lay it out. And it's initial in the capture, then how you work it, and then how you end up putting it out. And Sherry and I work together, and we put out many proofs, and we double check everything, make sure it's the density we want, and then we print them out. But the black and white, you can print either black and white or color with incredible ease and make them all look beautiful.
Yeah, the really nice thing about your machine is it technically has 4 blacks in it.
Yes, it does.
You got matte black, photo gray, and gray. So you've got this full range in there in terms of being able to get that great depth. You're being able to make sure that your blacks aren't blocking up, and that you're also picking up those fine details in your highlights as well.
That's the goal.
Well, I know from personal experience that you're out in the snow photographing, wild animals in the snow. And that's one of the hardest things to reproduce when you're printing is snow, and knowing that it's not just white, but picking up the detail in snow. So
that is a challenge, and we live in the part of the country where it's snowy 6 months a year, basically. So we just learn how to expose for it. And that's the basic thing. You learn how to expose and then shoot from there and print from there.
Perfect. So talk to me a little bit about, from somebody's perspective that's always printed their own work. If you were talking to somebody that has never printed their own work, that's always outsourced it, and you wanted to give them advice on why they should be printing their own work, tell me what you would tell that person. Printing
your own work is, I think, just an accumulation of all your creative talents. It seems daunting to come in and you work on the computer and you do all the stuff with it, and then all of a sudden you go, oh, I got to print it. It's not as scary as you think. You go in there and it's not plug and play. You got to play. You got to learn how to tweak the images. You got to learn how the inks formulate with the canvases or the print paper. But no, it just is amazing when you finish, when you shoot, capture, work on it, and then print your own. Now you're starting to feel like an artist. And that's where I think where the big part is you're starting to feel like an artist when you can see your own image coming off that printer.
Now, you had mentioned back when you were in your wet lab and you were really first starting how printing your own work made you a better photographer. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Oh, yes, because, if you mess up with exposure out doing a session, let's say, and you mess up exposure or something, you have to print and custom print everything. Now we can customize it like in Photoshop, but I really like to do the customization in the camera at the capture because it makes you more critical of your work, more critical of your lighting, more critical of the time of day you're shooting because you want to optimize all those factors when you're doing your printing.
Yeah, I would think at the end of the day, as a photographer and an artist, I'd rather spend more of my time behind my camera than behind my computer.
It's amazing. People ask me, they go, how long does it take you to work on some of your images? And I go, 30 minutes to an hour sometimes. I mean, tops. Sherry goes, takes a shower, comes back, and I'm got her image ready to go. And she comes out and goes, great. We do find tweaks. We always work together looking at tweaks because, a second set of eyes is always nice. But I have people tell me they worked on an image for 3 or 4 days because they had a custom burn, custom dodge, bring in textures. And I was like, oh, that's too much work. I'd rather be out shooting. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. Out photographing.
So, at the end of the day, that means printing your own work, you learn the mistakes you make because you see it. You're not sending it to a lab where the lab's doing all the work and you don't realize how poorly you maybe photographed it.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, you're seeing it. You're like, oh, I need to adjust for this. So the next time you go out to that same scene or another similar scene, now you make those adjustments.
Sometimes it can be a painful lesson when you don't do it right outside, especially if it's one of those scenes that, you go, oh, dang, it's one of the type scenes. You come back and go, oh, darn, I really messed up. You put that in your memory banks and you don't forget the next time.
No, and you do a lot of wildlife
yeah.
in Yellowstone and the Grand Tetons. They don't stand there and pose for you.
They're not at all.
You can't, hey, I'll be back tomorrow at the same time. Can we get you to do this again?
You'll never see them again.
Right. I mean, it's just, you get one shot at that. So the experience of printing your own work that makes you the better photographer, make sure you don't miss that opportunity.
Yeah, it really makes you want to make sure you got it right the first time. And, the problem is too many people, I call them, they shoot so much. And so I'm one of those kind of guys that I really compose, shoot. As I'm photographing, I'm really composing a work in the light, making sure, checking exposures, and I'll shoot 1 or 2 shots that some people's made 30 or 40 because I feel like I'm still the old film guy. I want to make sure it's right the first time.
So your experience of transitioning from wet lab to inkjet, from a technology standpoint, easy transition? Do you find the inkjet printers are pretty simple to use?
They take some skill getting used to. Let's face it, there is a learning curve. I mean, I don't care who you are, there is a learning curve, but yes. But once you start learning color and you start learning how to see things in the tones, I think anybody can do it. It's like, I'm not as technical as some, but if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Yeah, I like to tell everybody, look, the operational standpoint, easy. It's a giant desktop printer on steroids. So you can plug it in and be printing pretty decent images
Absolutely.
right away.
Plug and play out. Yeah, but then there's some tweaking. Let's face it, there is some tweaking. It's just like when you do wet lab, you had to, you get your developer going or warm it up or do double developers. This thing you just have to tweak, and you have to learn the capabilities of where your printer can do and what they can do. And Sherry's an amazing eye to help out with that and seeing that and adjusting and help tweaking the imagery.
Yeah, I like to tell everybody it's almost like printing is almost like a gateway drug. Once you buy the printer, get it set up, it's like, oh, that's the hardest part. It's just getting started. But once you start and you realize how easy it is, now all of a sudden you're hooked. And now you want to learn more. And okay, let me try this. Let me do this. Let me try this piece of software. Let me learn a little bit more about the color theory. Let me start playing with these other things. And that's the tweaking and the learning and the learning curve you have to learn that you mentioned. It's all these other things that make it better and better and better. And getting past that first part that you think is hard that's not makes this part exciting, because now, okay, I can print. Now let me get really good at printing.
That's the key thing. We've talked about this before about people just getting in there and actually do it. The worst thing you do is buy a printer and not use it. That's the worst thing that can happen. If you get scared, if something happens, you have something isn't working, calibration isn't working, fix it and get on. And that makes you a better photographer by learning how to fix that and get on and with it.
Yeah, and one of the things that we pride ourselves in at LexJet is the fact that any of the medias that you might buy or want to try, we've done a lot of the work for you in terms of just having custom profiles that we know the machine you're using, we know the papers that you're using. We've built custom profiles for you to at least get you started, to get you pretty close to what you want. But then you can start making other tweaks and other things along the way as well.
Yeah, you guys were amazing when we started the Fiber Elite. We got the profiles for that, and immediately we were able to customize to our style. But your style printing black and white is probably going to be different than my printing black and white, and so it's just those tweaks and that's what makes us individuals and making our work look so different. Is always customizing it to what makes best for our work.
Fantastic, Dennis. One more question for you before we close up. If somebody wants to see your work, where do they go?
Well, I'm on Facebook, Dennis Hammon. I'm on Instagram at Dennis Hammon, and we're just redoing our website, and it'll be dennis.hammon.photography, so you can find me.
And if they go to their site, is there going to be information about any tours or classes or workshops?
We're certainly working on it. My Facebook and Instagram have it. Yeah, we got a lot of workshops and things coming up, and we're always out teaching, working shop, do private tours with people. So, yeah. I'm just a phone call away.
Yeah, every time I look, you and Sherry have things printed about, we're going to Ireland, or we're going to be in the Grand Tetons, or we're going to be here or there, and you've got workshops going. And I know there's kind of a waiting list. I mean, those things fill up quick. So if they're following you and they're paying attention, they have an opportunity to go spend time with two absolute amazing artists.
We're blessed to have a following of people who want to go hang out with us.
Yeah, well, and you make it fun. It's, that's again, my wife and I spent quite some time with you in the Grand Tetons, and the friendship was more valuable than the photography. But we came back with amazing work that, had you not put us, we looked at things, and we're like, that's a really beautiful image. But then you put it, no, squat down here, try this, do this. And you made us look at things differently. And I think the work that we printed from that would not be hanging in our home had we not had guidance from an amazing artist. So,
well, you had all the skills. I just kind of showed you the places.
Thank you. Well, Dennis, thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Look forward to spending more time with you.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.